So we will start with our today's class. Remember, last time we were talking about the Battle of Hudaybiyah and the pact or the Treaty of Hudaybiyah. And I told you that the Muslims and the people of Quraysh, we had an agreement. And in that agreement, there were certain things that were decided, and Muslims were thinking that everything is going against their will, against them. But eventually, everything started working in favor of Muslims. So, one of the last thing that I said we'll talk about today is that the people of Quraysh, they wrote a statement, or they put a point in the treaty that if anybody accepts Islam and comes to Medina, and if their family members or friends or people of Quraysh ask for that person, the Muslims of Medina would have to return that person back. So one of the first incidents that took place in this matter was the return of Abu Jandal. While the treaty was getting signed, Abu Jandal, the son of Suhail ibn Amr, he showed up at the scene and the Prophet returned him. Then the Prophet ﷺ came back to Medina, and during the way to Medina, a surah of the Quran, Surah Al-Fath, was revealed. So now we are at the point where the Prophet ﷺ is back in Medina. And a man by the name of Abu Basir, he is one of those people who are present in Mecca by the non-Muslims of Mecca, and he cut loose and he runs away from his house and he comes to Medina. And he enters Masjid al-Nabwi and say, Assalamu alaikum ya Rasulullah. And the Prophet looks at him and said, Abu Basir, what are you doing in Medina? He said, because I ran away from Quraysh. I am here in Medina, and please welcome me and let me stay in Medina. So Prophet ﷺ said, you know what? If I let you stay in Medina, that will be a problem. He said, why? And the Prophet said, because we made an agreement with the people of Makkah that if anybody comes to us from Makkah, and if people from Makkah asked, I have to return that person back. So Abu Basir, you can stay in Medina as long as nobody asks for you. If somebody comes from Makkah and asks for you, I have to return you back to Makkah. And Abu Basir said, fair enough. I totally understand what you are saying. And as long as nobody asks for me, I'll stay around. So Abu Basir continued to live in Medina, but not too far, not too long. Two men in Makkah by the name of Azhar ibn Auf, who is the uncle of Abdurrahman ibn Auf, and Akhnas ibn Shuraiq. These two people, they send two men from Makkah, from the tribe of Banu Amir, towards Medina and said, we want Abu Basir back. So a man from Banu Amir and his slave, they came to Medina with a letter from these two people and said, O Prophet of God, this is the letter from people of Makkah, and they want Abu Basir back. So Prophet ﷺ said, okay, Abu Basir. Abu Basir shows up. Abu Basir, you have to go back. He said, okay, that's fine. So one of the two men from Banu Amir, they tied his hands and they put him on a horseback, and they are now, or camel, whatever their ride was, and now they're going back to Makkah. A day passes, and he starts talking. Abu Basir starts talking to the guy from Banu Amir and his slaves, and he tells to this guy from Banu Amir, oh man, are you a rich person? And this guy said, oh yeah, I'm a rich guy. He said, oh, I could tell from your sword. What a beautiful sword you got, man. Look at the handle of your sword. That's so pretty. I've never seen any sword case so pretty as yours. And then he said, I don't want to talk to you. Just keep quiet. He said, okay. Then they settle down at a place at nighttime. And then he says to this guy from Banu Amir that, you know what? Your sword is so good, man. I am so tempted to look at it. Can you bring it a little bit closer? I have this love for swords. And the guy said, okay, whatever. He said, don't worry, I am tied up. What can I do? He said, okay, whatever. So this guy gets closer to Abu Basir to show him the sword. Abu Basir pulls the sword out of the case and kills the guy. And he kills the guy. And as soon as he kills the guy, his slave got scared and run away from the scene. And the Abu Basir shows up in Medina the next day, and the Prophet is, Abu Basir, you're back? You're back? He said, yeah, I am back. And again, anybody who's raising the questions or raising the hand to ask questions, the questions will be towards the end, okay, as we usually do them. So Abu Basir shows up in Medina, and the Prophet ﷺ asked Abu Basir, why are you here? He said, because I am free again. The people who chained me, I got rid of them, and I'm a free man. The Prophet ﷺ said, man, you're in trouble. You're a troublemaker. You should not stay back. He said, but I have things, I could share those things with you that I got from this guy. So the Prophet said, no, I have nothing to do with these things. You keep them. And if they ask for you again, I will give you to them again. So that slave that ran away from the scene, he comes to Medina and he meets the Prophet ﷺ, and he says, the prisoner you gave me ran away. The Prophet ﷺ said, that's not my fault. It's your fault. You didn't take care of your prisoner well enough. So your prisoner is here. You can take him if you want to. He said, we two people could not take him. How can I by myself take him? So that slave left. And the Prophet ﷺ said to Abu Basir, if they ask for you again, I will have to return you to them. So it is better you leave Medina. Abu Basir said, okay, fair enough. So Abu Basir, instead of traveling south, Abu Basir traveled north on the trade route towards Syria, and he settled in one of the mountains. What was his idea? His idea was that Quraysh take this route to do the trade with Syria. Now, Muslims and Quraysh are in a pact, in a treaty, so they will not fight each other anymore. But I am not part of that treaty. I'm not a citizen of Medina, so I could do whatever. So what Abu Basir started doing when Quraysh would take their caravan towards Syria, he would attack the caravans alone, single-handedly, but it was all the mountains. It's very easy to attack and hide. So Quraysh, in a little bit of a time, got so tired of these attacks. And then what happened, the news spread, and the news reached Makkah that somebody from Makkah ran away and he attacks our caravans whenever we go north to Syria. And when this news spread across, other Muslims who started freeing themselves or running away from Makkah, because there are a lot of people, not just slaves, but free men who were put in prison by their own families for accepting Islam. So these people started running away. Instead of going to Medina, they started going to Abu Basir. So in no time, there were a group of people Abu Basir had that he was using to fight Quraysh by attacking their caravans. And soon Quraysh got so tired of this, they came to the Prophet in Medina and said, we wrote that statement in the treaty that if anybody leaves Makkah and comes to Medina, you have to return that person back to us. We want to cancel that. Anybody who accepts Islam from Makkah and wants to come to Medina is free to go to Medina. We will not ask for that person ever again. Please cancel it out. So the Prophet ﷺ said, okay, you wanted to put it, so I put it. You want to cancel it, I'll cancel it. So he canceled that, and he sent a letter to Abu Basir and said, Abu Basir, you are now free to come to Medina because Quraysh has taken that thing away that they will not allow people from Makkah to move to Medina if they're Muslims. So when that letter reached Abu Basir was very sick at that time. In fact, he was so sick that he could not even sit up. So one of the people around him, like Abu Jandal, also came and joined him, by the way. So Abu Jandal read the letter to Abu Basir, and Abu Basir was so happy that now people are free to go to Medina. Whoever is Muslim and doesn't want to live in Makkah, and the people from Makkah will not ask for that person back. So, but Abu Basir was so sick, he could not move to Medina. And in a few days, Abu Basir passed away. So whoever was with Abu Basir, his friends, they buried him in the mountains, and all of them then moved to Medina. So that was another outcome that came out of the treaty. We talked about other things that positively happened in favor of Muslims. And this was also, when it was getting written down, it It seemed like, oh my God, this is against the Muslims, but in fact, it was also not against the Muslims in Medina. So that treaty was out. Now let's go back to Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam coming after Hudaybiyah to Medina. Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam stayed for a couple months in Medina, and now he said, okay, we do not have to worry about Quraysh because we already did a pact with Quraysh. But we still have to teach lessons to those people who attacked us in the Battle of Ditch a year ago. We were not at war with them. They came and surrounded Medina with 10,000 men, and they fought us for no reason. We do not have any treaties with them, and they must be taught lessons. So, having said that, Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam in the month of Muharram decided to travel up north. So, let me see. Everybody should be able to see this map here. So, this is where the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is in Medina, down below. Let me get the annotation. Okay. So this is where the Medina is. And the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is planning on going up north. And that's where the Khaybar is, up north. So this is the route the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam took, the green line that you see. So went through all of these different places. Now, this is the thing that the Prophet said, anybody who did not join us for Hudaybiyah will not join us in Khaybar also. So that's basically the thing. If you join us for Hudaybiyah, you can join us for Khaybar. If you join us for Khaybar and you are not part of Hudaybiyah, then there's only one thing, and that is that you have to not take any reward from this war. So anything we get from this war, you will not get anything out of that. So Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, you see this green route, this green line that's Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam took, and he reached the place of Raji'. And in the place of Raji', where this arrow ends, let me show you here. This arrow, that's where the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam wanted to go. So initially, the destination was An-Natah. This is one of the castles of the people of Khaybar that needed to be attacked and conquered. But the problem was that if the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam stayed somewhere close to Natah, the people of Khaybar could still get some enforcement from another tribe. So at night time, one of the companions came to the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and said, "O Prophet, did you settle close to An-Natah, where you have this red circle I drew for you guys? Is that your decision, or is that Allah's decision that He wants you to be here?" The Prophet said, "No, I was traveling and we were so close to this place, and that's what we want to conquer first, because this is their first castle in our way. I settled here." He said, "You know what? The people of Natah, they are very, very good with arrows, and they can take their arrows at a farther distance. So staying over here means we are in their range. How about we go elsewhere?" And this companion was Habab ibn Mundar. And the Prophet ﷺ said, "Okay." And he called Muhammad bin Muslima to go and find a new place. So Muhammad bin Muslima left the Muslim army camp, and he said, "I will go and find a different place." And Prophet ﷺ camel also started walking by itself, and the people started running after the camel. The Prophet ﷺ said, "No, leave it alone. Leave it alone. It is by Allah's permission it is going." And the camel stopped at Sakhra, and that's where the Muslim army then camped. So staying at Sakhra means that Muslims would stop all this help that could come from here to An-Natah. So all of this was cut out. So now An-Natah people are pretty much by themselves. They cannot get help from anywhere. Okay. So that's why Muslims settled in As-Sakhra, just so that you guys understand. Okay, let me clear the annotation here. So Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam reached this point. Now, when the Prophet reached there, the people of Khaybar were not even expecting that the Prophet is coming. Even though their friend Abdullah ibn Ubay ibn Salul, the chief of the hypocrites, he sent a message to them ahead of time that the Muslim army is coming, protect yourself. But they were not expecting the Muslims to come in this big number, you know. They were not expecting an army of 2,000 people to show up at the door and ready to attack, even though they had a lot bigger army themselves. But they were not prepared that the war will take place so quickly. So in the morning, they got up. They were mostly farmers, so they used to farm outside of their fort. So they left their fort with their equipment, with their whatever things they would take out to their farm. And then as soon as they got out of their forts and they were about to get to their farms, they noticed this 2,000 men army, and they got scared. And they ran back into their forts and they hid. And they're like, oh, we can't fight these people. I mean, like, how are we going to fight? We are not even prepared to fight. And they closed the doors, and then they started shooting arrows right from their castle. Then Prophet ﷺ decided that we will go out and fight with them in open. So he sent one army that was not successful, came back. Sent in another army, not successful, came back. Sent another army, not successful, came back. So then Prophet ﷺ said that tomorrow I will give the flag to that person who will be the conqueror of this place. And this person is the one that Allah and his Prophet loves, and he loves Allah and his Prophet. So everybody was so excited, and they wanted them to be that person because everybody loved Allah and his Prophet. But this is like a guarantee certificate from Prophet saying this person loves Allah and his Prophet, and Allah and his Prophet loves him back. So everybody was so excited that at the Fajr time, the name of that person will be announced. And when the Fajr time came, everybody's excited. And Umar radiallahu anhu said that I wanted to be that person. And I was standing so tall and broad. And look what, I mean, like Prophet looked around and said, where is Ali? And we were like, Ali? Ya Rasulullah, he's so sick. He can't even walk. His eyes are burning. He can't even see. So Prophet ﷺ said, but I want Ali. And the companions went, and Ali radiallahu anhu came to Prophet, and the Prophet said, Ali, here's the flag. Take it and conquer this fort. And Ali radiallahu anhu was like, Ya Rasulullah, I can't even see. My eyes are burning. And the Prophet said, okay, put your head down in my lap. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam put his spat in his eyes, in the eyes of Ali radiallahu anhu. And the moment he took it out, all his sickness was gone. And the Prophet ﷺ then made dua for Ali radiallahu anhu that may the weather never affects you. And Ali radiallahu anhu would never feel hot or cold after that day. I mean, on warm, sunny days, he would be wearing like clothes that are not meant for summer, and he wouldn't be hot. And in the winter days, he would be wearing clothes that are not meant for winter. They're thinner summer clothes, and he wouldn't be cold. So that was the miracle from Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that was given to Ali radiallahu anhu. So Ali radiallahu anhu took the flag and he started moving towards the castle. Now, one more thing happened before Ali radiallahu anhu started moving to castle. A day before, the war took place, the battle took place between the people of An-Nata and the people of the Muslim army. In that war, a man by the name of Mahmud ibn Muslama, he was fighting and he got tired. And as he got tired, he went closer to the wall of the castle and he sat down. So 3 men from the top of the wall, they threw stones at him. And one big stone hit him and he died. His brother wanted to take the revenge of that. He said, the people who killed my brother, I will not let them go unpunished. So there were like 3 men. One was Marhab, one was Kinana, and then there was a third guy. So he said to Prophet, Ya Rasulullah, if Marhab comes forward, I want to fight him. So anyway, Ali radiallahu anhu, the next day, the battle was about to start, and the man by the name of Harith came forward. This Harith guy is the brother of Marhab. And Harith came forward, and he was killed in no time. As Harith died, the entire army got scared of Khaybar, and they went back in their fort and closed the doors again. Then the next time, Marhab came out. And this time when Marhab came out and he said, "Who will dare to fight me today?" And the companions were like, "Ya Rasulullah, please allow us, please allow us." And Muhammad bin Muslima said, "Ya Rasulullah, please allow me, because this guy was responsible for killing my brother Mahmud." And the Prophet said, "Muhammad, you go and fight him." So Mahmud and Marhab fought. Muhammad and Marhab fought. Muhammad ibn Muslima and Marhab. Some people say that Ali radiallahu anhu is the one that finally got rid of Marhab, because the battle took place and Muhammad did not completely kill Marhab, and whatever was left of him was then taken care by Ali radiallahu anhu. So both of them fought Marhab and concisely. And anyway, Marhab was gone. So Marhab died, and the castle was conquered, and the Muslims entered the castle. Now, when this particular thing was happening, a man from this place showed up, this castle, and he said that, "I want to see Prophet." And Umar radiallahu anhu caught him, and he said that, "You will be punished." He said, "Punish me later on. First, let me talk to the Prophet." And Umar radiallahu anhu said, "Okay, we will let you talk to the Prophet." So let me show you here where the Muslim army is fighting right now when this man shows up at the door, okay, and says he wants to meet. So the Muslim army is fighting over here in this castle called Naim. So he shows up and he said, "Oh Prophet, if you can give me protection to me and my wife and let us go free from here, I can tell you a secret." And the Prophet said, "Okay, what is it?" He said, "After you conquer Naim, there is another castle right behind it called Sa'b. Sa'b is a very important castle. And by the way, the people in the Naim has already moved their families out. A lot of their families are moving somewhere over here in the Shaq or in Kathiba or some of the other places, but they're not in Naim anymore. So Naim mainly has the soldiers left. When you conquer Naim, go for Sa'b. Don't go elsewhere. Because in Sa'b, we have built catapults. And you will need those catapults to conquer the remaining castles, because those castles are above the mount. And there is no way your army can reach and conquer these mount castles. The only way you could do that is with the help of catapults. And we have these close carts. Your soldiers can sit in the close carts. And when they push arrows into it, the arrows will not enter the carts. And then you can move your army in the carts, and you can destroy the walls with the catapults. There is no other way you can capture these castles. So the next goal for the Muslims were to capture Sa'b. And also Sa'b castle had food. So the Muslim army, after conquering Naam, started moving towards Sa'b. Now, Marhab's brother, Yasir, was extremely powerful man. Marhab died, Harith died, and Yasir was not willing to give up. So he came forward and he said, "I will fight." And when Yasir said, "Who will fight me?" Prophet Muhammad's cousin Zubayr, he said to the Prophet, "Ya Rasulullah, please allow me to go and fight with him." And Prophet's aunt, Safiya, said, "Ya Rasulullah, Yasir is a very strong man, and Zubayr is my only son. What if my son dies?" And the Prophet said, "Don't worry, your son will be perfectly fine. Don't worry about it." So Zubayr went, and Zubayr and Yasir, they had fight, and Zubayr was able to defeat Yasir, and then the Muslim army attacked the walls of the Sa'b castle, And eventually they were able to break through the doors and they were able to enter the castle. When they entered the castle, that guy who said to the Prophet that you will not be able to find catapult anywhere like it is down in the basement. So you have to go down in the basement of the castle. That's where you will find the catapult, you will find the carts, you will find the swords, and you will find the spears. We have stored everything down in the basement. So what you will do is, after you take the catapult out, make sure you mount the catapult at so-and-so location, because when you mount it at that location, that's where you can use the catapult to attack the castles. And the Prophet was, why were you building these catapults? Why do you have catapults? Why do you have all these carts? Why did you put in the basement? So the man said, we were preparing to attack on Medina. That's what our goal was. So we were gathering all these swords and spears and building catapults and carts that we were not successful when we came to you last time. So we wanted to come this time with a bigger, massive force, so that if you build a ditch again with the help of catapult, we will be able to throw stones inside the city of Medina and be able to destroy you from the other side of the ditch. So that's our plan was. And that's exactly why Prophet ﷺ went after these guys, because he knew about this, that they were planning a very big attack on Medina. So he wanted to stop them before they could attack. So right here in this castle, when Muslims were about to conquer the castle of Sa'ab, that's where the people came and said to the Prophet, Ya Rasulullah, we are running out of food. We don't have food anymore. And the Prophet said, when we conquered this castle of Sa'ab, the castle of Sa'ab has a lot of food. Don't worry about it. And that's exactly what happened. When Muslim conquered this castle, they got all these weaponry to fight the next set of war against all of these. You see all these X marks? All of these are different castles that the Prophet has to capture. The Samwan castle, the Zubayr castle, the Nidar castle, then up north, Tal Shaq castle, Ubay castle. Then all of these different castles needs to be conquered. All of these X's, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then down south here, the castle of the Marhab, which has been also conquered. So all of these 13 some castles need to be captured and conquered. And this basically, the whole region was called the Khaybar. So that's why this war was extremely massive and very different in nature, because so far Muslims have never fought a war with the enemy where they have to conquer so many castles one after another, and there's so many of them. And there were some of them were up high on the mountains, so it was difficult to go up and fight when you're down below and they have an edge over you. So that's why these were extremely crucial battles. Anyway, so we will stop here and we're going to go to the questions. We'll continue talking about the Battle of Khaybar in the next couple weeks or so, because as you already saw, that there are several castles that we will touch base on, most of them, but if not all of them, because there's too much detail there. Okay, Hilal, go ahead. You had a question in the beginning.
In the start, why did the person kill the other person?
Oh, because they were enemies.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was capturing him and taking him back as a prisoner, and he was a free man.
Okay.
Yeah. So he wanted to set free. Yeah. Okay, go ahead, Muaz.
But did they kill the farmers who were in the cabins? Did they kill the farmers? Did they kill the farmers?
No. Farmers went back. The fight was not with the farmers. The fight was between armies. So yeah, so farmers and their families, they fled from the back door to the other cities, and whoever was left back in the castle was the army. So there was an army of close to 10,000 men there. It was a very, very heavily armed castle.
Okay. Love this.
Okay. Anybody else has any questions here?
Okay.
Okay. Okay, then we'll call today. Oh, somebody else. Hilal has another question. Yes, Hilal, go ahead.
Why did the war happen?
The war happened because, as I told you towards the end, that they were planning on attacking Muslims anyway in the next year or so. And these were the people that came a year before and attacked Medina.
Okay, I get it now.
Okay. Anybody else has any other question? Okay, then. See you guys next time. Assalamu alaikum.